Hello traders, and welcome to part 2 in my volume profile trading series. So in today's video we are going to be talking about three main things. The first thing is just going to be a quick little material from the previous video. Then we're going to get into a simpler method for using the volume profile if you would like to. There is a simpler method, then there's the more advanced method, and so far I've only shown the more advanced method. And then also I'm going to show you guys how to take advantage of a string of LVNs, low volume nodes, and how you can use that to trade breakouts. Alright, so let's get started. So this was in my first video that I made on the volume profile. If you haven't seen that video yet, I would recommend that you check that one out, because this video might not make sense if you don't know the basics of the volume profile. Alright, and yeah, let's get started. So the simple volume profile method, the only reason I call this simple is because it actually doesn't use the visual volume profile. It uses the lines generated from the volume profile. So let me show exactly what that means when you read this. Yeah, so what the blue lines show is the developing value area. So the value area and how it changed throughout time. And the black line right here, as you can see, that drops and then goes back up. That's the developing point of control. The point of control is also known as the volume node that has the highest amount of volume transacted. And just here are 4 quick strategies that you can use using the value area lows and highs, and also using the developing point of control. And these are going to be very important when we get into examples. So definitely pause the video and read these if you want, because I'm going to move on. All right. So just one quick thing that I want to show of how this works and what this typically looks like in an uptrend is you can see that we are in some consolidation here with a bit of a dip, and then we go back up and we turn into an uptrend. And then once the uptrend forms, which, when it breaks the upper value area and bursts through it, you can see that it returns not once, but twice back to where the value area high was located. So this is just a fantastic way that you can use this simpler method to trade into uptrends. Is just to put your buy orders where the value area high is, and that's a good way to trade. So here's one quick question that I'm going to ask you guys based on the point of control that I showed here. Remember, the developing point of control. So do you think that this resistance level will hold right here? I'm starting this one off pretty simple. I promise it is going to get a little bit more complicated with the examples in the future, but this one, don't think about it too much, just yes or no, will this hold? The answer was yes, it did hold, as you can see here. Price went down and then went back up, and then this held and it consolidated for a little bit more. And the reason why this area held was because the resistance also had the point of control. And a support or a resistance level that has a lot of volume, and HVNs, high volume nodes, and especially when it's the point of control, also known as the highest volume node, when that occurs at a resistance level, that shows that a lot of traders must have bought or sold at that level, which means that if price does go back up to that level, it's going to have a hard time going beyond it. And that's exactly what we saw right here. So just remember, if you see the point of control at a support or at a resistance level, then reason that that level will probably hold. But if the level doesn't hold, and that goes back to the point of number 3, if price passes through the point of control, then that's a very strong signal that price is going to probably continue in that direction. All right, now let's get into the more fun part, which is taking advantage of LVNs. And this is where the advanced part of the video comes in. So let me introduce a new term to you guys called clearance. And I defined clearance up above, but it's actually not too complicated. It's basically just the area where LVNs are located and that there are no major HVNs. So what this means is that you might have some HVNs above price, for example, and then you might have a bunch of LVNs below price. Remember, LVNs are low volume nodes where not a lot of volume has been transacted. And if price enters this territory, then we can expect price to fall very, very quickly, or rise, if the LVNs are above price. Until it hits a major HVN or other reasons like Fibonacci's and stuff that could also cause resistance or support. And like I said, bold green down here, this is meant for breakout traders who like to trade coins that haven't broken out yet and are curious to buy before they break out and be ahead of the curve. And using the volume profile, you can do this just by looking for a string of LVNs and look for clearance. So let me show you guys exactly what that looks like. So I'm going to start you guys off easy here with not really a question, but just it kind of just shows it here. So this is an LVN string, meaning that if price reaches this area, it's probably going to fall fast. As you can see right here, this is support. And if price falls below support, we really have no volume transacted at these levels. So we can expect that price is just going to crash. And remember, the price is at 306. And this is what happened. Price went from 306 all the way up here and just fell right through, all the way down to about 290. And then it got some consolidation and went back up. But the main point and the main takeaway here is that we had some HVNs in this area. But once price escaped the HVN area and found clearance with all these LVNs, price just tore right through. And for those who are curious about the reasons of why price likes to just rip right through LVNs and take a longer time with HVNs, is because there weren't that many positions located in LVNs because there's not that much volume transacted at those levels in the past. And when there's not a lot of volume transacted, that typically means that there's probably not a lot of orders at those levels. And if there aren't that many orders at those levels, then it would make sense that price would just fall right through or rise very quickly if the LVNs are above. Because if there are no orders in a certain price area, then price is going to keep going until it reaches a mass of orders, and then it might consolidate or reverse. So that's the reasoning of why price likes to just tear right through LVNs. As you can see here. So this one, I'm going to ask you guys this time. Let me just show you what's going on here. So price is consolidating here, and we have a higher value area than typical. But the more important part than the value area location here is this. We have resistance. We have resistance here and here. So we'd expect that some volume would be occurring at these levels. But actually, there's really not a lot of volume. As you can see, for two major resistance zones, very little volume was transacted. So if price comes and actually breaches this, what do you expect to happen? I'm going to turn it in 3 seconds. Yeah, so price actually just bursts right through it and turned into a very strong uptrend, and this is on Bitcoin. And again, the reasoning for it is there just aren't that many orders or positions at these levels. So you can see that if you had bought, you could have targeted a very, very high profit. And you can see just how quickly the price reacted to that string of LVNs. One more bonus note on this chart is if you look on the volume profile distribution here, you can see that there are a lot more HVNs below price than above price. So at this current price level right about here, besides this point, there really is downward sloping volume. But then we can see here that there's relatively strong volume at these levels. So if instead price chose to break out downward, we wouldn't expect price to go too far because there really isn't a string of LVNs here. But this is different because there was a very big string of LVNs, as you can see right here. Okay, now here is another question of mine. So this is kind of similar, but just another question just to tickle your brain. We have our value area here, as you can see, with the purple and blue, and then we have a regular area, which is the green and orange here, and we have our point of control here. Okay, so we have a lot of heavy volume on the upside. Now, my question to you guys is, if price came back down to this level, would it hold? And base your answer off clearance and what you know about LVNs. Okay, so this is what happened, and this is actually just a prime example of price falling through support when there really isn't that much volume transacted at support. So if you look here, at this support level, there really is very, very minimal volume occurring at these price points right here. A lot more of the volume occurred on the downward move, but not much volume actually occurred on the basing move or at the level of support. And you can also see that kind of here. The volume began to fall off in this region and in this region, and that's why we don't really have a ton of volume here. And beyond that, we also have clearance at these levels, and that can be shown as price just crashes right through very, very quickly because there just really aren't that many orders or transactions at these levels. So the answer would be no, support does not hold here. Okay, so I think this is my final example here, and this one is going to be probably the hardest example. So what I'm going to ask you guys here is first notice again the distribution of the LVNs and the LVNs here, or possible HVNs, and tell me if price goes to this level, do we expect that to be respected and go back up? Or do we expect price to fall right through? And again, if price goes to this level instead, do we expect this price to have powerful resistance, or do we expect that if price begins to go here, it will just tear right through? And I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds on this question. All right, so remember these prices. So this is what happened. Price tore right through it. Again, just another classic example of a string of LVNs, also known as clearance. Here's what's going on. So we have, back here, we actually do have some consolidation, as you can see, but there really wasn't a lot of volume at that consolidation. And because of that, price was able to just basically rip right through the consolidation. With this consolidation period is what I'm talking about. Price just ripped right through it and didn't really consolidate or have any short-term retracements in that level because not a lot of volume was transacted. And that's why price broke out and went very, very high very quickly on Ripple. So let's also just talk about, before I close this video, what's going on down here. There's much stronger volume below price than there is above price. So that's going to make it a bit harder for price to tear right through these levels. And if price was to come down to this area, I would expect that support would probably be held, especially at this HVN area right here at around 0.68. Because at that level, we have a lot of transactions that occurred. So if price came down here, it would probably consolidate, or it would probably just make a V and just go right up after that. And there really aren't that many LVNs in this area, but there are a lot of LVNs in this area. All right, so that's going to be it for just the advanced video. I wanted to make this video as simple as I could for explaining the volume profile. I just want to take one idea and try to show you guys how to trade using that idea, because I think that's a lot easier for a trader to remember instead of just throwing at you like 5 different ways to trade and then going from there. So that's why I'm just showing you a way to trade breakouts if you like to trade breakouts upward or downward, and how you can use clearance of LVNs to trade those breakouts. So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching.